Hi everybody, I'm Mary Rose Feldman. Welcome to my studio. Are you ready to tangle together today? I'm really excited to share this tangle with you. It's going to be another mana tangle. I don't know that it's going to take a whole lot of time, but it's just one that's really fun to play with. We're going to do a moment of gratitude like we always do, take a little bit of a breath, have an affirmation very quickly, and then we'll jump into our tangle. I want to remind you though that I'm doing these videos at my own pace to keep the videos shorter. Please feel free to pause or speed up depending on how fast you're tangling today, and really enjoy the process. There's no rush. Be grounded, be mindful, enjoy the art, the tangling, the patterns, whatever you're interested in today, we've got it here. So I'm very happy you're here. But let's go ahead first and have a moment of gratitude. Just sit quietly and notice your breath. And as you inhale and exhale, just acknowledge how you're feeling. Are your shoulders tense? Are you clenching your jaw? Is your back tight? Is your mind swirling with stress or worry or excitement or lots of thoughts? Just acknowledge how you're feeling. Bring your senses into the moment and bring it back to your breath. There's no judgment in how you're feeling. This is not the time for problem solving. This is just the time for acknowledgement and calm. Invite everything to relax. Our affirmation today, I am grounded in this moment. Take a nice good deep breath and exhale. Have a moment of gratitude. Pause the video for as much time as you need and then come on back. Okay, so here's the affirmation I pulled today. I have an affirmation deck and I pull a card before all of my classes. So this is the one that I pulled for today. All right, so for supplies for this class, I'm working with a Zentangle tile. It doesn't matter the type of paper. Pick a paper that you like and you enjoy working on. I'm working in the round, but you can work on square, rectangle, journal, whatever you like to work with is all good for this class and this series of classes. Okay, so I'm not going to practice the tangle. I'm going to go right to my paper on this one and give you a little bit of a surprise since we're not going to practice the tangle. We're going to start with pencil, any type of graphite, and we are going to come in here and put some sort of a wavy grid with big sections. So if you want to watch, it's going to be something like this and then maybe like this. Maybe out here and here. It doesn't have to be even. Maybe like that. Okay, so that's what you're going for ish. Doesn't have to be super exact. All right. You can pause the video and do that, or you can keep watching if you're curious where this is going to go. The tangle we are doing, I'm looking for my pen. My pen was a little dry in the last recording, so I'm going to try to grab a new one. So I'm just working with an 05 micron. The tangle that we're doing is called Daisies. It has an interesting name. It's called Daisies Make Me Cross. Normally we don't get a tangle pattern named like that. And this is Helen Williams. I may be doing a few from Helen Williams this week. That was not planned. It's just what was inspiring me at the moment. Okay, so we're going to look at an intersection. So where these pencil lines come, we're going to look at the point where they all come together. And here's what we're going to do. I'm going to start at that point, and I am going to make kind of a loopy petal that may or may not touch the next intersection. So I'm probably going to have you watch on this one. So this one I'm going to make go this way. So notice I'm going over the pencil line. So traditionally this would be the center of the petal, but I'm not making it super traditional. So notice I made that one a little bit shorter. And I'll make this one maybe go this way. So essentially what I have done is made a 4-petal daisy. It's not exactly a daisy, right? I'm not going all the way up to that intersection line, okay? Because you're not really going to use every intersection. You're going to use probably every other. So for example, here was my intersection. I'm going to, and if I'm looking down this line, this pencil line, here's an intersection, here's an intersection, here's an intersection, and here's an intersection. We're putting the point in every other. So I used this one as the point. I'm going to skip this intersection, and I'm going to go to this one. And I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to bring a daisy up. It may or may not go, a petal, not a daisy, may or may not go all the way to the intersection. Turn the tile. Let's make this one a little bit wonky. This one goes off the page. And this one's going to be really short because there's an intersection. So you don't want to go beyond the next intersection, okay? So going back to this one, I would not want my petal to go beyond this point. I don't want this petal to go beyond this point, okay? So I'm looking at the next line over. So I can't do any more daisies on this line because we're alternating intersections and I don't have any more intersections. So I'm going to go to the next line. So here was the intersection I used. When I come over to the next line, I don't want to use this intersection. I want to use the one above it. So I'm alternating. I didn't use this intersection here, so I'm going to use this intersection here as the point. I'm going to skip this one, and then I'm going to use this one. Okay, so let me go ahead and do this, and it'll kind of make more sense. I don't know if I'm explaining it well enough. So I'm going to turn my tile, following the same principles. So notice how this one has a really long petal. This one's going to have a really short petal. So I'm trying to have them turn in different directions. Notice how they're all a bit wonky, which is what I really like about this. Okay, so I used this intersection. I'm following the line down. I skipped this one. Now I'm going to use this one. And what you'll see is the tips of the petals all come together. And if you have to draw behind at any point, that's fine. But I'm using the line as my guide. All right, and I can get 2 there. So now I'm going to go to the next one. So I use this intersection. I don't want to use this one. I want to use this one, right? So again, horizontally, we're skipping an intersection. So I used this one, I'm skipping this one, and I'm using this one. There's a whole bunch of different ways I could explain this. We all think of things differently. So see how at this intersection, the tips of the petals meet. And that's what you get by alternating intersections in both directions. So on this line, I don't have another petal here because there's only two intersections. So now let me go to this one. Here's my intersection. I'm using that pencil line to guide me loosely. And I'm filling in that space however it sees fit. Used that, skip that. So here's another daisy. And then these two are going to go off the page. Okay, so you get something really wonky, which was the point of the tile. And now I just need to fill in the sides. So here's a line that doesn't have anything to it. It's a point where the tips of the petals are meeting. So I'm just going to pretend that there's a petal that's going off the page. So I have 4 petal tips meeting. Same thing here. There's some daisy off the page. I don't have any lines here, no lines, and here's one more. Oops. And here's one more. So you end up with these really interesting, wonky type of daisies. Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. You might have just been watching instead of just tangling, so you've got the idea. Wavy, wide open grid with pencil. Pick one intersection to start, and then that dictates where all of your other intersections are. You can come in and put the points on if that helps you. So put a point, skip the next one, put a point, or a dot, not a point, a dot. If that helps you do all that thinking ahead of time, that's another way to approach this tile. And then come on back once you're ready. Okay, so our next step on this is that we are going to aura a tethered aura, the sides of the petals. So here's where it gets interesting. I'm going to let's look at this one that we drew first. I think this was the first one. So I can come in and I can tether an aura on the inside, or I can tether an aura on the outside. And neither is right or wrong. It just depends on the space. So I have a little bit of space here, so I can tether out there. This one I'm going to tether inside. I think I tend to like them better inside because it doesn't change the shape of the petal that I originally drew, and I like the wonkiness of it. But it really doesn't matter. The original Step Out of this has a traditional square grid. And it's okay, but I much prefer the wonky grid example that she has. And you can see that just that little bit of an aura makes it much more interesting. Okay, so I think I have all of my petals. I'm looking to see. Oh, I missed one. I knew there were going to be some that I missed. Okay, so I have all of my petals aura'd on there. So the next thing I'm going to do is come into the center of these little daisies. And I'm going to press my pen in the center, and I'm going to do a whole bunch of flick marks to give some dimension to the center. So what I'm doing with this, if you have not done these flick marks before, I'm putting my pen firmly down on that point, and then I'm pulling towards me. You can do it away from you also, but you really want to get that wispy edge. You don't want this to be a line. You want this to have a wispy edge to it. And by putting your pen firmly in that center before you do it, you're dragging a little bit of that ink out. So if you look, you can see that center gets a bit dark because we're pulling some of that ink with us and making that a little bit darker. And whether I pull towards me or away from me, it kind of depends. I seem to have more control when I pull towards me. I have most control when I slow down. Okay, I think I got them all. Okay, so you can pause the video if you're still doing that. I'm going to keep going to keep the video a little bit shorter. I am going to erase any pencil lines that I still see, but make sure your pen is dry before you take any eraser to this. You don't want to smear any of the ink. I'm going very gently. I'm only erasing the pencil lines that come straight through the petals. Not being too fussy, but just any of those major lines. I also did them a little bit darker so that you could see on screen. Hopefully yours are light enough that you really don't have to do that. Okay, so I think that's good enough. Good enough. Yeah, good enough. Okay. So there you go with those. And then I'm going to come in and shade with regular pencil. And I'm just going to put a lot of graphite right in the center of those daisies. And the ones that are off the page, I'm just going to put a little shading there just to give the illusion that that daisy is there. So in my sample, I got a lot more petals, a lot more flowers. I must have drawn my grid much smaller than I did today. All is good. And then I'll tortillon this out. Just bring it to the end of the petals. Fade it off. It's a really super fun tangle to do with this wonky style of a grid with the wavy lines, because you really don't know what you're going to get. Okay, and there we are. So I want to show you, we have this really empty background. And there was a lot more space on this one, like I said, than there is on my sample that I'll show you. You can absolutely keep this background plain if you want. I think one of the things I did do to make it a little bit more contrast is I darkened some of my outer lines. So if I just thicken up that outer line a little bit, it gives a little bit more weight to the daisy. And I've said in other videos, I do this at the end so to give me more opportunities for ideas. And you could tell I'm not being very careful when I do this. Having trouble talking and tangling. So that is has a little bit more weight. That daisy has a little bit more weight. So let me go around and just thicken up the outside line. This makes that inner aura look a little bit more delicate because it gives us our contrast. You can go ahead and add some drama into those auras if you want by coloring them in, or you can, color in those auras with the highlight if you want. Flexibility. So you could see that gave it a bit more weight to each of those little daisies, a little bit of contrast with the auras. So for this one, I'm just going to go ahead and put my chop and sign. But I want to show you the option, and I really love it, but I'm going to keep it as an option and not do it in class, is that you can take this and color in that background. So you can see my daisies are smaller than what I did here. So that just means that my wonky grid that I drew in pencil was a little smaller than I did today. No, just the way it is. My petals, I think, are a little fatter than they were here, so they took up more space. But you can come in with a marker. This one I happened to do with watercolor. I don't remember if it was pan paint or watercolor pencil. Don't really remember. But I really love putting a color in the background for this one, and those daisies just come to the center. But you know, you can leave it like this just as it is. You can add more daisies in the background, put a dot, random dots, and just make the daisies that way. I think it's really, really a fun little tile to play with. Super happy that you tangled with me today. Thank you for being here. I will see you in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.